The Chicago Bears, they just got some really concerning news before camp, and this just happened on Wednesday. The Chicago Bears placed rookie offensive lineman Kieran Amagaje on the non-football injury list. And I'm Sean, this is Sports Talk Bears. Hey, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, join this community as we push towards 10,000 subscribers. Would really love to have you aboard. So this injury, this designation, it was expected by some, but there was a lot of optimism that he'd be ready for training camp, right? You guys have been following along, and now it's apparent that cooler heads, they're going to prevail. He's a key player to develop and get ready for maybe a key rotational spot at the outset. I guess it's better to bring him in when he's at 100%. So he's still rehabbing after a surgery last October to fix his partially torn left quad. This happened at Yale. He was present also, but he didn't practice during OTAs and minicamp. And back in May, head coach Matt Eberflus, he said they'd hope he'd be ready by training camp. And that's likely the main source for optimism to hear Coach Flus talk. It looked like to me that he was planning on him being ready, but that's no longer a case. So Dr. Mason West, he tweeted some insight into this. And keep in mind when this surgery was performed, this is a quote from Dr. Mason West. An optimistic timeline has him, Amagaje, doing progressive return to sports activities 6 to 8 months after surgery. But many are closer to 9 to 12 months after surgery if the patient is symptom-free, if he passes a functional evaluation. So Amagaje had the surgery in October. August, that puts him right at 9 months. So right kind of on the cusp. So next month is a likely optimistic view moving forward, with obviously October being the full 12 months, that being the worst case scenario. So let's kind of define what the designation is here, as he was placed on the NFI list. So the NFI list, in case you didn't know, that's for players who sustain their injury away from the team. That definitely applies here to Amagaje, since this was done during his time at Yale. But don't confuse it with the PUP, the physically unable to perform list. That's for players who are injured during team activities and before training camp starts. So here's what's known so far to just kind of sum it up. He's going to count towards the team's 90-man offseason roster right now. He can be activated at any time, but there's really no express timeline given for when he can ramp up activity and be fully activated. So that's unfortunate. And as far as camp, Bears rookies, they reported to camp yesterday. The veterans report to Hallis Hall on Friday. The team's first workout, their real team activities, that's scheduled for Saturday. So moving forward, I just want to touch on a couple things here. One, this is not the end of the world, everybody. Let's take a deep breath. Let's get a fully healed player here. Initially, polls, he stated around draft time that Amagaje wouldn't be a starter initially. That's always been in the team's plans. He's built versatile depth across the line, and this is not a surprise. It's disappointing, but it's not a surprise. It was known when he was drafted, and the team, they've always planned accordingly here. So nothing's really changed. Once again, deep breath. There's a story here on Windy City Gridiron, and I want to go to it here, and I'm gonna kind of scroll down to this pertinent part of the story. And I really like the insight that this gives us on Kieran Amagaje. So Windy City Gridiron, this reinforces how nice of a player the Bears have in Amagaje. And I still believe the fact that he was injured and couldn't fully work out at the combine, and that's going to be a blessing in disguise with the injury, without being able to do a full combine workout, with only being able to do the bench press, which is crazy. That allowed the Bears to steal him in the third round when we got him. And opening this story, it talks through the eyes of Zach Mitchell. He's the physical therapy manager at Exos Sports Performance Training in Gulf Breeze, Florida. So Mitchell, he had the chance to work with Amagaje on a regular basis starting way back in early December. So he knows the player well. And hearing what he stated recently, and this is, I quote, "He's honestly one of my favorite athletes to have worked with and to have gotten to know." So that's really good to hear. And I mean, he's a physical beast, but one of the reasons he was noticed and on the Bears' radar at all, coming out of a lower profile football school like Yale, It's simply because he's a young man of high character. Word got around on him and a little on his time spent with him. And this is from the same guy. This is still from Mitchell. We worked together on trying to get him feeling healthier and getting to a good point. And we continued that from early December through March. I spent more time with him than anyone else in the building. I mean, he couldn't participate in the Senior Bowl, right? He couldn't do anything but the bench press at the combine, like I said. And Mitchell, he wasn't really able to ever work with him at his full strength due to the injury, right? But with that, some things came to the surface that really spoke loudly about him. And to further quote from the story, Mitchell was impressed by his dedication, his work ethic, his coachability. And even though Amagaje wasn't at full strength from an athletic perspective, the tools were obvious when working through exercises. And Mitchell continues and he just gushes about Amagaje in this way. And he gushes about the character of the Bears' new offensive lineman. And I want to quote him once again. This is just good stuff to hear. I could tell that his strength and his power and his determination, off those things, I think he would have tested really well at the combine. I think he could have tested probably near the top of the offensive line group in a lot of areas. That's obviously something that I have to take a guess at, but he's just a very athletic guy. And when you do work with a lot of different people, and this is more from Mitchell, you can identify traits and qualities about how someone moves, even with very sub-maximum exercises, and to be able to know if they've got some pop or not. Kieran's a guy who's definitely athletic. He would have tested very well. So here's what the deal is. Local kid, right, who made good. He's a product of Hinsdale, Illinois. This is a player who's a long-term addition. His size and strength, couple that with his elite footwork, especially for a man of his size, is just elite. He fits in as an absolutely prototypical NFL left tackle, and those are hard to find. But the Bears are in a good situation. They have Braxton Jones. He's really in a situation of proving that he's the long-term answer at that spot this year, in my opinion. Granted, he's balled out as a fifth rounder. He's really risen to the challenge, but the ceiling of Amagaje, it's at a much higher level. So right now, Braxton, he can definitely provide what is needed, but there's still going to be a door open to Amagaje auditioning at left tackle. And he's able to play guard as well, and he did so effectively at Yale. We all know the injury issues with both Tevin Jenkins and Nate Davis. I mean, we've talked a lot about it here. If they're blessed with good health this year, the Bears, they have a formidable line put together. And it also hasn't fully happened yet, this good health. It's been concerning. But if you look at it, Amagaje, it's the perfect fit to provide insurance at either spot and high-level play at both spots too. Just an absolutely big steal by the Bears. And Mitchell, to close, he agrees. He's saying Amagaje is genuinely one of the most mature athletes that I've ever worked with. He's very self-aware. He's very intelligent. He's able to see multiple sides of anything that we're talking about, and it's not just sports. He and I were able to have many good conversations about life and about things outside of sports. This man is very open, very aware of the multiple sides to all things. And I think that's a very important quality for a young man to have when you're entering into a professional sports world where there's a lot of things going on around you. And personally, you guys know me very well. I really love the integrity he seems to have. It's so good that you can get a player on your team that you can not only root for, but you can also root for a person who has high integrity. And Kieran Amagaje is one of those guys. He's got a maturity that really many times that's the measure of success in this league. To have a career that has longevity and not just talent, it takes integrity. It takes character a lot of times. And the good thing on top of that, the talent's there, textbook size, and that's desirous of an NFL offensive lineman. And man, just really can't wait for him to be ready soon. Further prove that this is just an epic draft class for the Bears. I'm also going to mention that Torrey Taylor, Austin Booker, they're going to show out as huge steals as well. And we're going to see how good this Bears draft class really is. I'm incredibly optimistic, as you guys know. I'm going to be realistic as the season goes on, but what a good time to be a Bears fan. What a fun time to be a Bears fan right now. And I'm here for it. You guys, as always, communicate with me in the comments. That is one of the highlights of doing this. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Bear down and continue to enjoy the offseason. Camp is this weekend. See ya.